Hi, Coach Jim here. Today we wanted to go over Njekt Operations. We're going to do that in 3 sections. First section being how we mix the chemical. The second section being how we actually apply the chemical. And the third section being how we clean the tool after we're done so that we can stow it away properly and it stays clean and operational the next time we need it. But we're going to start off with how we actually fill it and what kind of chemical we put in it and what the ratios are. The one I'm using here, the example is of imidacloprid. That is the one I've been using a lot. That's the one that's on my mind the most. So the label rate calls for 0.2 ounces of active ingredient for every 1 inch of diameter at breast height. Okay? And when I go to apply the material into the ground when it's already mixed up, I like to use 4 ounces of mixture for every 1 inch of DBH. That seems to work pretty well for me. Which means then that I'm going to need 0.2 ounces of active ingredient for every 4 ounces of mix. Okay? I'm just using a transitive property of math here. Used to teach math. Anyway, if you go ahead and set up your ratio at 0.2 ounces of active ingredient for every 4 ounces of mix, that then would translate for every X amount of ounces, which is what you're trying to find, for every 128 ounces of mix. Now that's a gallon. Okay, that's what's in the tank. So then if you use cross multiplication, it's 0.2 ounces active ingredient times 128 ounces of mix divided by 4 ounces of mix. The units cancel out, and if you run the numbers, you'll end up with 6.4 ounces active ingredient per 1 gallon or tank load. Okay? Now that means that every time I go to fill that tank up, I put 6.4 ounces and measure that out in a little measuring cup, put that in the tank first. Then I put the water in it, then I agitate it. And ideally you want that all connected together, tool and tank, otherwise the tank could tip over and it could go everywhere. I did that, so that's a bad thing. So make sure it's attached to the tank, and then you can agitate the tool and everything at one time. So the next step then would be to actually apply the material. Okay, we're going to inject this maple tree with imidacloprid according to the calculations that we did earlier, and I want to put in 1 injection site per inch of trunk diameter because each injection contains 0.2 ounces of imidacloprid per inch of trunk diameter. That gives me the right rate. But to find out exactly how much I need to put in, how many injection sites I have to put in, I have to use this caliper tape. And I measure that. And that's about 22 inches of trunk diameter. So that means I'm going to have 22 holes. Alright, let's get started. So first thing I do is put my foot in the foot plate. I pull up to charge the cylinder. I push down to put material in there. I want to make sure that that little valve is open so that air can get in. Then I'm going to give it a little wiggle so I can pull it out. Pull out of the hole, move over about maybe 6-7 inches, 8 inches or so. Pull up, push down, wiggle, pull out. Oop, found a spot that I can't get into. Now I can get into that one. There we go. Up and down. To that soil's very dense. Just going to take it a little more slowly. Okay, give it a little wiggle. Pull it out. Push it in. Up. Down. Some of it's going to come out of the hole a little bit. That's alright. It's not going to hurt anything. Move over here. Oop, can't find that spot. Oh, there's a spot right there. Go up. Push down. And that injects that. Now imagine I do that 22 times all the way around. Sometimes you might overlap a little bit, in which case you just go back and overlap the holes and just put it, kind of redistribute the balance of the injection sites over the rest of the trunk diameter. Well, now I've got another plant I want to do with a different chemical, so we're going to switch tanks. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to change the tanks. I have to press this little gray button right here, and I push that in, and I can push up on the tank a little bit. Sometimes it's a little difficult. There it comes, and I can switch the tanks out with a completely different chemical, so I can treat a completely different plant for a completely different pest problem. And I line it up. Let's give it a little push, and you'll hear it click. There's the click, and now it's ready to go. So now I go over and I treat that other plant. Okay, here's a condo complex where a lot of the trees were easy to get to. This one was not easy to get to. It was way up on that retaining wall. It's very low. It's very difficult to get a hose up there and around and then pull it all down. And this way with the Njekt, I could just walk up there, treat the tree, and be done with it. It was really, really awesome. Go all the way around the plant, get the material in the ground the way I wanted it to, and we could control the calico scale that was on that plant. Okay, here I'm soil injecting a large ash tree down at the bottom of a hill, well outside the range of our hoses. And the other thing was, it was down a pretty steep hillside. Luckily there was a path for me to get down there, but it would have been impossible to use a hose to do that because the hose won't go around all the trees going up the hill. So in this situation, the best way to treat this plant was with the Njekt. And I was able to get this done without any problems. I was able to do it quickly, efficiently, profitably, and in such a way that we could get the proper amount of chemical into the plant so it could absorb it and allow it to do what it needs to do, which is fight emerald ash borer. And here I am climbing back up the hill around all those trees. I just can't imagine what it would be like to have to wrangle a hose all the way up that hill around all of those trees. And here I am going the rest of the way up the hill. And you can see the platform up there. That's just the back end of the driveway. There's the house. Okay. So now I've treated the other plant, and now I want to clean the tanks. I don't want to get chemical all over the inside of my truck in case it leaks out of any part of this. So I just want to have water in here. So again, I'm going to push in on that little gray tab, pull up on the tank, put the tank in my vehicle where it doesn't leak at all. This is awesome. I can go ahead and put this one in this receptacle. Make sure I open that up. And now to clean it, what I want to do is I'm going to change the dosing knob down here. I'm going to open it way up, all the way up to 10 ounces, because I want that whole cylinder to get cleaned out. So now I'm going to pull up, all the way up, and then I'm going to push it all the way down. And I do that 3 times. There's 2, one more. And 3. Okay, then I close my little air vent. And now I'm actually going to take this off. Go ahead and take that off. Put that away. And then I take this and I put that in there. Okay, the reason is now it only lets air in without having to worry about having an empty tank, or like an empty wash tank. So again, I'm going to pull this up. That's got a little valve in it so it can't come squirting back out at me. And that's 2. And when it gets really easy, that's just like that. Now it's just air. Now I can take this tool, nice and light. It's not going to leak. I can take it, put it in the back of my vehicle, Take my gloves off. And on to the next site. Okay, so in conclusion, the applications that we make with the Njekt are fast, simple, and profitable because they're based upon the concentration of the chemical, not the volume of the water needed. So until next time, this is Coach Jim. See ya.